Today we're going to work on finding slope and rate of change. This is section 4.4. The four lines in front of you, let's describe what their slope is. The first one rises from the left to the right, and we say that has a positive slope. The second one falls from the left to the right, and we say the slope on a line of that nature is a negative slope. The third line is a horizontal line, and all horizontal lines have zero slope. The last line is a vertical line, and all vertical lines have undefined slope. Please do not tell me that this has no slope. The correct answer here is to say the slope is undefined. Slope is known as the rise over the run, and we can use variables to represent this. M is slope, and then we have our rise being the change in our y's, meaning we will subtract them, y sub 1 minus y sub 2 over the change in our x's. So x sub 1 minus x sub 2. We can flip our variables around and have y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. It doesn't matter. You will get the same answer. What you need to make sure is that you are subtracting your y's in the same order that you are subtracting your x's. You will also see me write delta y over delta x. That little triangle is the Greek symbol delta, and it stands for the change in. Instead of writing out the subtraction, we can just have the delta y over delta x, and it means that we're subtracting our y's over subtracting our x's. Let's find the slope of this line that is on the graph. We have to subtract our y's first. So I have delta y over delta x, which is going to be negative 2 minus 4 over negative 2 minus 6. That gives us a negative 6 over negative 8, which is a positive 3/4 for the slope. We could have subtracted the y's in the other order, being 4 minus a negative 2 over 6 minus a negative 2, and that gives us 6 over 8, or a positive 3/4. The slopes are the same. Since this was on a graph, we could have also counted on the graph from one point to another, the rise over the run. The rise in this case is 6, and then the run is 8, and we set it up as 6 over 8, and we would simplify. You could have also gone from the top point to the bottom point, and the rise would have been a negative 6, and the run a negative 8 because we went to the left. Negative 6 over negative 8 gives us still that positive 3/4. When you have a graph, you can count the slope on the graph. When you are given a problem, you are expected to use the slope formula in order to solve the problem. Let's find the slope of this line that passes through the points. Do not graph this, please. Use the slope formula. We have 5, 2, and 4, negative 1. That means our change in y's is 2 minus a negative 1 over our change in x, which is 5 minus 4. That gives us a positive 3 over a positive 1 for slope, and we can write that just as 3. We know there's a 1 in the denominator, but we can write it just as the integer 3. Let's now do negative 2, 3, and 4, 6. We know that that's 3 minus 6 over negative 2 minus 4. That gives us a negative 3 over a negative 6, which we must simplify to 1/2. When you have that double negative, always take care of it and make it a positive. So our slope is 1/2. Let's find the slope of this graph. Notice that it's a horizontal line, so let's do our change in y over change in x. Change in y is negative 1 minus the negative 1 over the change in x, negative 2 minus 4. Notice that gives us 0 over a negative 6. 0 divided by any non-zero number is always equal to 0. So when we have a horizontal line, we're going to have a slope of 0. If we look at it in terms of the rise over the run, there is no rise. That's why our numerator is 0. The run is 6 or negative 6, depending on which direction you're going. And so 0 divided by 6, 0 divided by negative 6 is still equal to 0. Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Let's look at this vertical line. Our change in y over change in x is 1 minus -3 over -3 minus the -3. That gives us 4 over 0. Anytime you take a number divided by 0, your answer is undefined. That is why the slope of our vertical line is undefined, because we're trying to divide by 0. When you look at the graph itself, and we have the rise over the run, the rise is a -4 or a +4. It doesn't matter in terms of the order. The run, we're not going left or right at all. That's why the denominator is 0. Please notice a vertical line always has a slope that is undefined. Rate of change. The table shows the cost to paint a house for a given number of hours. We are to find the rate of change in cost with respect to time. The cost is our y, the time is our x, and we can choose any 2 points, any 2 xy pairs that are given here. I've chosen the first 2 to work with. That means that I have 135 minus 90 over 6 minus 4, change in y over the change in x. That gives me 45 divided by 2, which is $22.50 per hour. They wanted the cost with respect to time, so they wanted to know how much money per hour. It tells us exactly how to divide them, money divided by hours. Let's look at the graph that shows the number of computer games sold day 1, 4, 7, and 9 of a sale. And it says describe the rates of change in sales with respect to time. So we want to have the change in sales over the change in time. There are 3 sections, so we'll actually find 3 slopes on this problem. The first one is going to be 114 minus 45 all over 4 minus 1, which gives us 69 over 3, or 23 games per day. Since that's a positive number, we know that it is increasing in terms of the number of games that are sold. The second one is 144 minus 114 over 7 minus 4, which is 30 over 3, or 10 games per day. The number of games per day being sold is still increasing, and you can see that in the line. The next part of the line, though, is going the other direction, which says to me there's a negative slope. We have 144 minus 102 over 7 minus 9, and yes, that does give us a negative 21 games per day. So that says that the number of games being sold per day is decreasing. The 3 sections there show positive and then a negative at the very end. So you have to have 3 different answers in terms of your slope. That's the end of slope. I hope that you enjoy working with your slope. Remember, it's the change in y over the change in x. And make sure that you keep them in the same order. Thank you.